Ryan,
Arme, how are you?
good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
All right, man. Let's get right into it. Tell me about your experience in the film industry. But before we get into that, I want to know more into who you were in high school.
Um, who I was in high school, I would say I was pretty much a class clown. You know that. You were in my statistics class.
Right.
You remember I got taunted a lot by our teacher, Mr. Switzer.
Hey,
One
shout
time.
out, Mr. Switzer.
Yeah, shout out Mr. Switzer. Very nice man.
He was a really good guy.
He was a really good
Yeah,
guy.
yeah.
But I remember one day I was in a play. I was also in drama. So I was in a play, and he said he came to see the show, and he didn't finish the show. But in class, he's like, and he knew I was trying to. He knew I was trying to increase my grade in his class. I went from like a D to like a B plus. I was so close to an A, and I kept begging. I was like, Mr. Switzer, like I'm doing great. Upgrade me to an A, please, please. And then in front of the whole class, he went like, Ryan, you're gonna get a B in this class, just like you're a B actor. And then everybody started laughing. I was like, wow, bro. He ended up giving me a B plus, so he didn't give me an A. But like, hey, shout out to that guy. He's a nice guy. But in high school, I was pretty much class clown. For the first couple of years leading up to it, I was like not a great student.
Right.
And then I got with I started dating my now fiance, Evelyn. Shout out Evelyn.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Shout out, Evelyn.
Yeah, she was like a bookworm, like straight A student and whatever, and she had like clear goals in mind. And I was like, I look like such a loser right now. My grades are like C's, D's, like just terrible. It would come to points where I was trying to like hide my report cards from my parents. That didn't work out, but that was I was very much like involved with a lot of people knew me in high school, and that's like, I was involved with many clubs like Relay for Life, which is the American Cancer Society Youth. We had that event every year. I was more into like the enjoy people around high school and enjoy what's going on rather than care about education.
Right.
That changed. But yeah, that's the kind of person I was like a goof for the most part. Yeah. Still am at times, but
You're just an older goof now.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Tell me what you did post high school.
So post high school, middle of high school, like close to my junior year, I enrolled in community college early to get a head start on units because I knew I wanted to go to film school. I was always, when I was 9 years old, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. All I knew was I would say, I want to be a director, because when I was 9, I discovered iMovie on my iMac.
Okay.
And I thought that was like free movies. I didn't know, like, remember LimeWire?
Yeah. I remember those days.
It's a long time ago, so don't come for me now. But I thought it was free movies, but I remember seeing like there's something called scrolling credits. So I tried like messing around with it, and I realized that, oh wow, this is how movies are made, is on computers. So I would like make videos of myself at 9 years old, like with the camera on the computer, of like me talking to an audience and like doing movie reviews. I did a movie review of Camp Rock on Disney Channel, for example, and I would add like scrolling credits, and everything would be like produced by Ryan Ebrahamian, directed by Ryan Ebrahamian, written, because I just wanted to make it longer because I liked seeing scrolling credits. So ever since I was a kid, I like made videos and stuff and wanted to do that. So when I was in high school and I made it my goal to like go to film school, and I always heard, USC is the best film school in the world, blah, 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 whatever. And I was like, I really want to like know what that industry is like. So that was the goal, was to get into USC. But obviously I needed backup, so I also applied to UCLA and Loyola.
Yeah.
So I started Glendale Community College early to do that, and like I completely changed. I was trying to be as straight A as possible, because I was like, the grades are somewhat of a prerequisite of like, you have the grades, then they're going to look at all the supplemental stuff. If you don't have the grades as a base, that was kind of my mindset. If you don't have the grades as a base, then they're not even going to pay attention to everything else. And for USC, you need to make a short film essentially to get in, like a 5-minute narrative piece, not really a short film, just like, and then there's like a written supplement, a bunch of stuff. So because it's film school and it's creative, you have to like, each school has their own requirements other than just transcript and personal statements. You have to like provide stuff that shows some kind of creative work. Which,
What was some of the stuff you had to provide?
like for USC, was a 5-minute video. And USC, I just tried to be well-rounded, and it was also like a written supplement. So the written supplement I provided was like, it was saying you could write something 1 page long without any dialogue to like tell a story. And I wrote this story. I called it Last Summer's Dependence, and I wrote this story about a girl who's like in her room, and she looks at, like, for example, the light, and she sees color and waves and stuff, and then it goes away. And like the whole piece, none of it makes sense until the end where I explain it. I'm like, and in the middle of it, she reads her yearbook and it says, like, hope you have a great summer or whatever, blah, blah, blah. So the whole thing of the written piece was like a girl looking over her last summer, which was, last summer she was out of high school. And when she keeps looking around at parts in her room and seeing colors and then they go away, it's like reminding her of an addiction she used to have to LSD, which is also the answer to the piece is in the title. It's an acronym: Last Summer's Dependence, LSD.
Oh, right.
Right?
Okay.
So I wrote that, and then my short film was
It's pretty
a
creative.
comedy.
I like that.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
I always like hiding stuff in titles. It's cool. And then the short film I did. So that's like a drug story. It's weird. It's totally out there or whatever. The second thing I did, the short film, was a comedy where I was in it and playing with. Remember Mr. Huber from high school? Who's our drama teacher. Well, you weren't in drama, but I'm saying he was the drama teacher from Hoover.
Okay. I don't remember him. But.
I play his son, and I wrote this script of like, I tell him I'm like really into this girl at school, and he has this bright idea.
I've seen it. Yeah,
Yeah,
my father's brainchild.
My father's brainchild, right? And he has this idea of like wooing this girl, like whatever. And the idea is like me making a music video for her, and you get to see that like his idea as like a visualization, and then I get upset with him over it. And bottom line, by the end, he's my dad at the end of the day, so I apologize, and we like reconcile, and then it ends. It's very short. It's like 5 minutes long. It's the max you had. And the end credits is like actual pictures of me and Hubert to like sell that we were really father and son, but we're not, obviously. And again, even that title has meaning because it's like my father's brainchild. Brainchild, it means idea. Also, my dad's a goof, so I'm like somewhat smarter than him. So I am my father's brainchild.
Right.
I'm also his kid. I'm also smarter than him. It's like a bunch of play on things. So like I provided that too, along with the USC, application. Bottom line, UCLA didn't really request supplemental things, but they rejected me off the bat. I remember finding out. I used to work at Olive Garden at the time. I was a host. And I found out in the bathroom. I went to the bathroom because I said I had to use it. And then I got the rejection. Because everybody was getting the messages, like whether they're accepted or not. And I checked, I got rejected. And then Loyola waitlisted me and was like, we can get you possibly for your second choice, which was communications. The reason why I wanted communications was we had a family friend, or my aunt from London, her family friend worked for Ellen DeGeneres at the time. And I went to the show once as an audience member, and she said, major in communications if you want to be like in this kind of like industry or whatever. So that was always my backup, if it wasn't film production. Basically they said, we'll waitlist you if you get a B or higher in your speech class you're currently taking at community college, we'll accept you. I was like, great. And then within a few days, someone from USC emailed me and asked to confirm how many units I'll have before transferring. So I was like, well, that's weird. They don't really email you personally to say that. So I sent it. I told them I'm like 52 units or 54 or whatever it was. And then about a week later, I had the USC, when they send approvals, like, or whatever, acceptances, they're in a package, like an actual package with a tracking number. And I was always wondering, like, is there a way to find out your mail before you get it, like USPS mail? And there is. If you sign up for the USPS website, it'll tell you what mail is coming that day. Like pictures too, they scan them. So I was like, one morning I woke up at like 7:30 and I see it says package arriving from University of Southern California. I freaked out. I was like, there's no way. Then I looked out the window. I kept waiting for the mailman. And then she came by, and I see she has my acceptance. It's like a white box with like the red logo on it, and I see it. It's in her hand, and she's across the street, and I'm like, don't you dare like put that on the wrong porch right now. Nobody over there is trying to get into USC. I already know. But then she turned towards my house, and I was like, oh my god. I opened the door, and I'm like, oh my god. And she like bounced back. She said, whoa, what happened? I said, dude, you're holding my college acceptance in your hand right now. And she's like, oh, well, congratulations. She handed it to me. I'm like, thank you. I'm freaking out, whatever. So I emailed Loyola, kind of like a douchey way of emailing, but I said, I apologize. I won't be taking the offer of this, the major. I'm not going to provide any information because my first choice accepted me. I literally said that in like a douchey way, but like whatever.
Did they respond to that?
They didn't respond to that, but
Yeah.
you know what they did? A few days later, Loyola accepted me without me sending any. I'm getting a B.
Okay.
And
So you really negotiated that.
So it's
without
like probably like,
negotiating.
they're like, oh shit, USC accepted. I don't know if they even work that way, but they're like, oh, USC accepted him. We must accept him now or whatever. But I declined it, and then I ended up going to USC. So that was like basically how I ended within
that.
a year. Yeah, we ended up going to USC, but that was like, and then fortunately while getting into USC, I part of the application process there was like a question for optional questions for scholarships. So I was like, all right. One of them was for middle class families. I was like, well, we're pretty middle class, and I like wrote about like how my parents, struggled when my brother was born and I was born, and my mom stayed at home and all that stuff.
Right.
And I got a few things wrong in that story. I told my mom. She started laughing. She's like, "You do not know our history at all, do you?" I said something like she worked in a frozen yogurt shop while my dad while my dad was working at Home Depot, which he was, but like I completely got it wrong. The actual story was, yes, when she came to America, she worked at a frozen yogurt shop. That was like totally before me and my brother were born.
Right.
But I like thought that was part of our history, like they were trying to make ends meet or whatever the case. It got me a half ride to USC because of scholarship, but it was a nice, sincere answer. I'm not lying. They've worked very, very hard for us, and then it helped. It helped. The scholarship definitely helped, but I'm still obviously in debt, which is the common. This is the truth. The student debt is student debt. Especially when it's private loans, you can't rely on any federal assistance for that. Which is my fiance has she has federal assistance because there are federal loans, which they've been like a few years now with no interest rate, which is great.
So she went to a public school.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So one was her first school was, where did she go? Oh, Cal Poly Pomona.
Yeah.
And then second was an online master's program, and we went to Southern New Hampshire University for marketing, and we went there in person for the graduation. That was fun.
Tell me a little bit about how it was going to USC Film School, because I know a lot of film students, they always want to go. They want to go there.
Right. Look, there's when you go to USC, there's people who like accept the fact that you're going there for the sake of the name, which is like they call it USC Mafia, which is very true. If like I've been in interviews and stuff where you mention like they look at my resume and be like, "Oh, you went to USC, so did I. Fight on." Like that's their logo is like the peace signs. Fight on. Yeah, fight on. Whatever. I never went to one football game while I was there. I should have, but I didn't. Yeah. So there's students and people that will realize it's for the name. Number one, like the name has like the prestigious, the film school for specifically I'm speaking about because I can't speak about the others. Although I do know that the other schools are very, so like yes, their name of every school is like, especially the ones that are known, like Dornzai, for example, is like every like science, like biology, psychology, or whatever. The greater name of USC is like, oh my God, you went to USC or whatever. But the film school specifically, that's like big, huge names went there, like Spielberg. They're still benefactors, like of the school and whatever. So then there are actual students who are like, make it their night and day when they get in. They will stop at nothing to be in that industry. And there's people I still know that, work or trying to find their place in the industry, and like I still see them outside of school years later trying to still finance their own short films to like build their portfolios and get known, get recognized, submit to film festivals and stuff.
You know, that's interesting that you say that because it is very hard to do. But I was looking up paranormal activity.
The movie?
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was on under $16,000 the
of course,
budget,
and it made
and it
millions.
grossed 200 million. So,
Oh
do you
yeah.
think there's ever chances of things like that happening?
Of course, there's chances, but like I feel like what I would, especially nowadays, I would say like, you hear a lot of go for your dreams, do whatever you want. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And I agree with that. Like I'm not. I'll be very honest. I'm not a go getter like that. I can't. I'm just not. I can't get out of my comfort zone too easily. That's just me. But there are people I know that will work their fingers to the bone to make that happen. But with the way I'm looking strictly from a financial point of view, looking at the way, especially where we live now, LA is like also is the land of opportunity, but at the same time, it's a disaster to live here because of it being the land of opportunity. The cost of living is ridiculous. Like you could find
Yeah.
a 2-bedroom house for like 1.5 mil here versus that same 1.5 mil in somewhere like Dallas or something will be this gorgeous estate.
Right. Right.
But it's like and it sucks because it's like that's as much as I like would say people should follow their dreams. I think that people also should be realistic. If it's not working out, as in try to like for me, I was like when I get out of school, I have certain goals in mind. I want to get engaged. I want to eventually get married, and like you need to have some sort of financial stability on your
Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
And
Of
don't get me
course.
wrong, like I still splurge. I could do better with my spending. My brother and dad call me out on it. I go to Vegas multiple times a year. It's not smart to do when I have debt. My brother didn't have debt when he married, which is great. But it's and as we go on, inflation gets worse. Things get more expensive, so it is tough. And I can't imagine what some of my friends from film school are going through right now with still going on that short film grind of like we'll make it one day. We'll make it one day. It's like sometimes I feel like you got to put the dream aside, get yourself kind of like stable a little bit, whether it's emotionally, whether it's financially. I don't know what people are going through.
Right.
But I've had emotional struggles and
Right.
stuff like
Of
that
course.
too.
Yeah.
And then when you have the opportunity to be there 100% in every way you can, then you can really put 100% into your dream. Because I feel like if you're not there fully,
Tell me a little bit about the biggest struggles you had at USC Film School.
the biggest struggles I had was, I think, being with the amount of workload we had and having to, the whole point of being at the school is you have to collaborate, right? And sometimes there's a big class called 310. It's like the dreaded number. I'll never look at 310 the same in my life. If you look at the clock and it's 310, I'm just gonna remember this for the rest of my
Right.
life. Where it's a class in your second year or second semester, at least for a transfer student. So the first semester you write a short film, like a script for a short film, and you'll kind of like perfect it. And then the second semester you go out and make that short film in a class called 310. This class is so intensive, you have to take it. It's part of the curriculum. It is 6 units for the class, for just that class. And people literally say, like, you can't have a job. You can't, like, I've heard students who can't work.
Wow.
It is so intensive. You wouldn't think it's like, oh, it's not just pick up a camera and film what you wrote. It's like they're making you, it's the one class that I will say is the most valuable and is the most dangerous because it's like you have to do what really you have to actually do if you were to make a short film, meaning getting permits, location permits for filming. You actually have an actual camera. You like have to find actors online. You put up casting calls. You hold auditions. You do all these things, and you have to finish this short film, meaning it's from script to screen in 5 weeks. And they screen it at the school's Norris Theater, which is like an actual movie theater.
Right.
And like it's very intensive because you think, 5 weeks, it's so intense that's like this class is 2 days a week, but it really consumes, like they gave us a calendar and we'd have to be at school on the weekends too, like for mandatory, like everybody, the whole cohort has to be there for learning about the camera and all that. And my biggest
So
struggle,
Monday through Sunday, just for that 310 class.
not Monday through Sunday, but like, there are sometimes
Right.
Saturdays would be, your filming days would only be weekends because you're at school.
Was that so? When you took that class,
Yeah.
is that like the staple class?
That's the staple
That's
class.
the staple
Every
class. Did you
USC
take
film
any
school.
other class during that time?
Of course, yeah. I because I wanted to graduate as soon as possible, I overloaded units every semester. So
Right.
that was the biggest struggle. I'll never forget it because I still, so in 310 you're paired with 2 other students, and every 5 weeks you each have a role. One person is the writer director, the other person is the cinematographer / producer, the other person is the editor / sound. Cinematographer and sound is no. This is right. No, so it's cinematographer and editor, and sound design, and what was the other one? Sound design and producer, or something like that.
Yeah.
Whatever the case. And you rotate roles every 5 weeks. So I was paired with these 2 girls, which we ended up being great friends. But in the beginning, it was very tough because I'm like, I wouldn't say I'm a homebody. I like being out, but like I always need to return back to my family at the end of the day. We were raised that way, so I'm not out of state. I would commute to school. I never dormed or anything, so I was like always. It was unheard of for me to be out 10, 12 hours a day away from my family. Like I needed that mental break.
That's why I never liked group projects back in college.
Like think group project on crack because you're think it's a semester long group project and 3 of them. So it's like every film is a challenge. So the first film we got paired with was the girl from New York. She wrote a story about some dystopian future where when you turn 18 years old, you have to perform a talent of some sort to these sages behind a glass. She called them sages, like basically 3 judges. And like when you're in a police interrogation room, not that you've been in a police interrogation. I'm saying there's like a one-sided window.
Maybe I have.
Right?
Nah.
Anyway, you could see a mirror, for example, and on the other side they could see you, but you just see a mirror.
Right.
So the idea was that you have 3 attempts to try to impress these judges behind the glass to be part of society. If not, you're in this white room performing your talent or whatever. After each round, if you fail, the room gets smaller until it eventually kills you, like crushes you, whatever. It was supposed to be like a metaphor of like being at the school, like if you're not talented enough or whatever. That was her idea. Very smart, very cool idea. Very interesting.
It's very, very creative people.
Oh yeah, very creative idea. Mm-hmm. But like, how are you going to make this in 5 weeks? That's the challenge. It's like, where are we going to find a room that shrinks? You have to like cheat that on camera and like, it's tough. So luckily my uncle runs like a studio for like filming music videos, things like that. And he has this like white wall, like PVC wall for like, product shooting and stuff. So we kind of used that, which we got lucked out. That was my family's place. But it was just the most stressful like few weeks ever. And then came my film, and my film was so easy, man. We filmed at my house. It was like a domestic abuse drama that was like filmed at my house. The first day of shooting, I was such a lax director, dude. I was just like, I'm done. Like, we're good. We got the shot. The first day we were done 2 hours early filming, which like never happens. Because I wanted to make it easy. Like we're not making like an Oscar-winning short here. We're just doing it's like we're learning about the process of making these short films. But both of them, in their own right, which I understand, were way too. I'm not gonna say obsessed because that's not the right word, but like
no, they were passionate.
Of course, extremely passionate.
Yeah.
But again, you have to somewhat be realistic. This is a class. It's school.
Right.
It's not a. I mean, you're able once you get out of the class, to submit these films to the film festivals and stuff. But it was and a lot of students did that. I didn't. I just made it to make it. But like a lot of students, like you had to do legal agreements and stuff with the school because the school owns it. Essentially, owns what you made.
It's built a very
the reputation is insane. Don't get me wrong.
It's a great reputation.
The amount of events, man. I had a class that every Thursday night, 6 to 10, taught by a film critic named Leonard Maltin. This guy is like, he's a very renowned film critic, like since the 80s. And the whole point of the class was he would tell us a little bit about his life for the first 40 minutes. We'd take a break, watch a movie that hasn't come out yet or is coming out that weekend. And then after the movie would be Q&A with somebody from the cast or crew. So like we watched like Avengers Infinity War the night it was coming out in theaters. We watched it in class, which is in the theater. And then Kevin Feige came as a guest. He came multiple times because he's also a USC alum, USC Film School alum. Guillermo del Toro came once for The Shape of Water. Like a bunch of crazy guests. Like that was the class, and I took it pass no pass because the whole class is graded based on 3 essays through the year. That's it. So I took that twice, which you were allowed to take twice and let it as an elective, which was a great class. And one time I took the TV version of that class back when I don't know if you've ever seen the show Succession on HBO.
I've heard of it, but no, I haven't.
Oh, dude, it's so good. You should watch it. It's phenomenal. I wasn't into it, like, and then it started trending online, and then I watched it. I fell in love with it. I binged this thing. I watched it, and I'm such an idiot because back when I was in school in 2018, the show just started. Our last class was watching the first episode of Succession, and Adam McKay, who like directed The Big Short. I don't know if you've ever seen The Big Short.
Yeah, I have.
Step Brothers.
Yeah.
All those movies. He came. He was the guest for the class.
How was it like talking to Adam McKay? Because I have seen Step Brothers. Shockingly, I haven't seen it, but The Big Short.
You haven't seen Step
Brothers? I haven't
Brothers?
seen
Dude,
it. No.
You gotta watch Step Brothers.
Yeah, I have to.
So Adam McKay can do a lot of like. He did Vice, like the Dick Cheney movie.
Yeah.
He did. He can do political things. He can do financial things. He could do ridiculous, raunchy comedies. I didn't really get to meet. It was a class discussion, so it's like if you raise your hand, you can ask a question. I didn't most of the time. I just listened. But it was fascinating because like I was, Will Ferrell also produced Succession too with him, like executive producers. But obviously I was just like, all right, whatever. At the time the show wasn't big. But now that I'm a huge fan, like it's crazy that I had that experience at the time. It wasn't a big show, but now it's like it's the highest Emmy nominated show this year on HBO from HBO because it's just so good. It's one of my favorite shows I've ever seen of all time. And that's like, it's great. I don't know if you're like into stuff like Entourage, Billions, Ballers, things like that. It's somewhat in that kind of vein. It's a fantastic show. And it's actually based loosely on like Fox and Murdoch, the Murdoch family and whatever. Totally different world, but I'm an editor for video game trailers now. Like that's ever since I was 9 years old, I loved editing. And I kind of, when I went to film school, I saw how many, just the amount of students in the cohort or like dozens of students. I was like, there's probably thousands of people out there like the students I'm with where want to be directors, want to be in the industry. While I was in film school, I was in like some Facebook groups that were like, I need an assistant editor. I need like someone, and people are down to work for no money, just meals. Because you always got to feed your crew. But I'm just like, there are so many people out there. I still on these Facebook groups just because I like to read the comments of people that look like just regular people who didn't even go to school. Are trying to find creative jobs like editing, cinematography, stuff like that, camera operating, things like that. It's crazy. And I was just, that discouraged me because I was like, what do I stand out? I'm overweight, like Armenian kid from Glendale. Like, what do I have to offer, No matter how much effort I put into grades and stuff like that, there's always going to be someone that's doing better than you in any aspect. There's always room to improve. So I was very discouraged for a while until, I looked at it like you got to look at it realistically, and then I just tried to set out to do what I wanted to do ever since I was a kid. I was like, editing is the thing that I love doing, and that's what started me off on this when I was a kid. And nobody really notices the editing and things, but when you're watching a trailer, for example, of anything, if it's a movie, trailer, TV show, whatever, that gets people wanting to watch it. But when you're watching a movie, you're never paying attention to the editing. You don't care about the editing. You care about the acting. You care about the story or whatever, if it's exciting. But in advertising, if you make a trailer that's damn good and people are like, oh, I can't wait to see this. And then when they see it, they get disappointed. It doesn't matter. You did your job. You made people go see that thing, So that's the rewarding part of it. I love doing what I do for that sake.
So, what piece of advice would you give to someone? Let's say someone's watching this, they want to get into USC film school. What piece of advice would you give them?
Well, for film school, I will say that do care about your grades for sure, but at the end, I mean, so many film school teachers even said it like, no one's going to care about your grades in this industry. No one cares, whatever, because so many people are into the creative stuff. So the main aspect they're going to look at, yeah, of course, grades are going to help, but I'm saying, would really care about your supplemental materials. Like, try to be as well rounded as possible, as in show a variety of things you can do, whether it's comedy, drama, action, anything. Like, don't like write a comedic piece and then submit a comedic video too, because then it's gonna be like, all right, this person just wants to make comedy. Like, show that you want to make things by making things, like different things. That, like, again, I'm not trying to like toot my own horn or whatever, but like, I wrote a weird trippy drug thing. I'm not experienced with it, but I tried. I tried to not drugs. I tried to write about drugs, like a trippy experience, and my video was a stupid comedy. And then my short film in film school is a domestic drama. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to show that I can
Versatility.
different. Yeah,
Yes.
exactly, versatility. Where I'm trying to like show that I do different things. That's like, I feel like you have to be like well rounded in the sense that you can hit so many different avenues, and then you find your niche when you get into film school. Like, are you better in comedy? Are you better in stuff like that or whatever? But first, you got to show that your creative aspect is there. You have ideas to do different things. You want to do different things. I think that's like the main piece of advice I can give. Next to, like, obviously be a good student. Try not to, get Fs and stuff like that. Try to keep it A's and B's as many A's as possible, but B's are okay too. I had like a C once too, which is like fine. But again, it's the supplementals that are really important for a creative degree, like an art degree, for example. Your portfolio is going to matter.
So, tell me more about some work you do in video games, because I know that's the industry you're in right now.
Yeah, so for video games, I make trailers, essentially. Trailers, social pieces. So, like, for example, one of our clients is Fortnite, Epic Games. We make their TikTok videos. We have people that actually
Nice.
film it in-house. One of the TikToks, I've used my own voice as like the announcer, so it's cool to see something who's been played like 2 million times. And people, TikTok is like
Yeah.
notorious for sounds. There are like children over the country or like other parts of the world have like, used the sound of my voice in that TikTok, making their own videos that don't really make sense, but it's just really cool. So that's like one aspect. Actual gameplay reveal trailers we do, launch trailers we do. I've worked on, obviously, Fortnite. I've worked on Legends of Runeterra, which is like a card game spin-off of League of Legends. Which is huge. That's a huge fan base following. I didn't know League of Legends was so big as it is, but it is.
In over a decade, that's been a
Yeah,
big game for a
that's
very long time.
it's still popular.
Yeah,
I
it
had
is.
no idea. I just recently worked on. There's a company called Telltale Games.
Uh huh.
They do like more story based. It's not really playing a game. It's more like episodic, and like, yeah, you do get to play it. Like, it's more so dialogue based and choose your own adventure kind of thing. The ending will be different. There's a TV show on Amazon called The Expanse. It's like a space TV show that Telltale. I guess they were not around for a while, but now they're back. That's their next game is The Expanse. It's like the sci-fi show, but like a game version. It's like 5 or 6 episodes. I can't really tell, but it's out now, and it's like every week or 2 weeks every week or 2 weeks they release a new episode. I made the gameplay reveal trailer for that. It was story reveal trailer for that, which was really exciting. And people, like, it's the craziest part where, like, something I've seen, because I work from home, it's something I see on my computer screen at home in my room for like week after week, finally comes out, and then people make reaction videos to it on YouTube. Like, fans are like, like when they put
Yeah.
like themselves watching, and there's like the little video
Yeah.
square, and it's just crazy that, like, something I just keep watching and send to the client when it finally gets out, and it's rewarding. Like, people get excited and they watch it, and it makes them want to play that game. I movie trailers are also their own industry. And one day I might want to get into theatrical because, dude, imagine you've been in a theater, you've seen a movie trailer come up like for something. I'm not gonna say something as big as like Marvel or something, but like any movie trailer comes up, you're like, damn, that looks sick. I can't wait to see that movie.
Sure. Yeah.
Whatever. Imagine like you get to make that scene worldwide in theaters worldwide. Something you made gets people hype about and makes that movie millions. So like theatrical is its own world. When I first got out of school, I was working at Apple at the time, but I got hired as a PA, which is production assistant, at a movie trailer house in North Hollywood. And PA is the worst job ever, man. Like you feel like, I will say it, like I felt worthless because you are the most expendable person of the company because you're really just running around getting people's lunch orders or whatever, and they can find anybody who wants to get their foot in the door and do that. And the way I got into games was that basically while I was there, they also had a games department. They worked exclusively on Call of Duty. But at the time, Warzone, which is like the huge thing now, wasn't out. And this company that I was at was going to work on the Warzone campaign. So we had a build where we could play Warzone. And I didn't know this like video game thing was its own world. Like it's literally like being on set. Like when you're a capture artist, the director will say, all right, shoot here on 3. Like literally shoot your gun on 3. And you have debug commands to give you unlimited ammo and stuff like that. So they could free cam and film. So I don't know if you've ever seen like Call of Duty trailers. Those are like actually filmed in game. They break camera because we're given those tools to do that, like coding wise, to make trailers, to do things like that. So then I will say I got fired from that job as a PA because I never wanted to stay overtime. I was like, I went to somewhere like USC and I'm like getting lunch for people. And that's like the lives of so many people like go to film school, not just USC, like any film school.
Yeah.
And it's just, I was like, there's no way you could make a living out of this. And then when I got let go from that job, I asked the director, Michael Callahan. He's also partially Armenian, who he like freelances at all these houses of like game direction. I emailed him like, do you know of any place I could, that was the most fun I've had at this job, like anything in that industry. He led me to another company, which I became an associate producer or assistant producer there. I didn't really do much there, but I was only there for about a month, and then COVID hit, so I got let go. My contract was cut off. And then I was like, dude, what have I done? Like, I left Apple. Apple was paying great at the time. It was about $18 an hour. I left to make full time at this trailer house as a PA because I was like, that's the industry I want to be in. So I took a pay cut of $15 an hour, even though it was full time. And now I was just literally contemplating my whole career choice. I was like, am I ever going to make it in this industry? Like, I got fired and then I got let go because of COVID. And especially now it's a pandemic, like nobody's going to hire. So I beefed up my resume as much as I could off like this picture I saw online. So I made my own resume from scratch again. When it used to be just text, I added like design and stuff on it. And I contacted my now company that I'm at and told them like, I'm an editor. I want to be an editor. I have experience in this, whatever. Look forward to hearing from you. Whereas all the other emails were like, I'm passionate on this and that. But this one, I was just so fed up and over that I kept it like simple. 2 days later, they set up an interview. I had 2 more interviews after that, and I got hired, and I've been there ever since. And now I went from assistant editor to associate editor to now I'm like creative editor.
You climbed up.
Editors.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's been 3 years, 3.5 almost, and I love it, man. I love the job. I love the people. It's a great place, and I'm just very lucky.
That I would really agree with you, and it is important to pursue your dreams and things you want to do with your life because I really think if you don't do that, it'll slowly kill you from the inside.
Right.
But at the same time, practicality is very important.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Practicality is very important because not everyone's in the same position. Okay, maybe they have a family to take care of. Maybe someone wants to take care of their parents. Maybe, you want to make rent at the end. There's so many different scenarios. Right. So following your dreams can't be a blanket all statement for everybody.
Exactly.
So pursue what's practical is definitely a great piece of advice to follow because
Right.
so okay, so in the video, so you are in the video game industry now. Where do
Right.
you see it going in the next 5 years, if you could say?
I don't think video games are ever gonna die. People, they already have plans for like PS6, the next Xbox, whatever. Even if it's not PS6, PS5 Pro or whatever, mobile games are becoming a thing now. Online gambling is becoming a thing now. Although we don't work on any online gambling campaigns or anything like that, but like you're starting to see them, like live blackjack dealers and stuff like that. So I really think that gaming is always gonna stick around because like, bro, gamers are like, there's like 60, 70-year-old gamers.
There's
Bro,
a lot
people
of
who
money in it too.
grew up in
Yeah, yeah.
arcades. Like, of course, it's never gonna die. And with things like everything's becoming a subscription service now, like Xbox Game Pass, for example, you don't have to buy games anymore. You just subscribe to a service and you can play whatever you want. So it's always changing. Movies, for example, took a hit during COVID because people don't want to be in a theater, but now streaming is like you used to watch a movie in theaters. 4 months later, you'd be able to watch it on TV. Now, movies in 2 weeks from being in a theater are on Amazon streaming,
Right,
available to like
right,
rent
it's
or
crazy.
something
Yeah.
for like $20. Red boxes, Red box, like
Yeah.
outside grocery stores, nobody goes to them. I saw one the other day. I'm shocked it still works. The machine, nobody goes to it. I don't know why you would even look at DVDs anymore. People collect them. That makes sense. Like I collect vinyls here and there, but it's the medium is changing. But I don't think games will ever fall out of it. Because during COVID, what did people do? They couldn't see each other, so they would play online,
Right.
and talk.
Right.
So there was like, it's crazy. I don't think games will ever fall off. So in 5 years, I don't know how they can push it further, but I don't think it's going anywhere as of where it stands right now. I think it's going to keep continuing.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, man, I really appreciate you sitting down and talking today.
Likewise, man. I appreciate it. It was great conversation.
You're very creative, so I love hearing
Thanks,
about
man.
your
I appreciate
experience.
it.